let me just quickly lift up a little bit. Okay, good morning, or actually good evening, good afternoon rather. Welcome to another day of TOEFL reading with me on this beautiful day actually, whilst we're all stuck inside. So today we're going to continue with our TOEFL reading strategies that we've been looking at for the last couple of weeks. And I'm going to be doing another reading passage, an authentic reading passage from TOEFL. Again, it's using the slightly older system now. As we know, whoops, oh no. Oh, there we go. I'm sorry. I forgot about that part. Anyway, so back to the lesson. We'll be looking at a reading passage by the name of 19th Century Politics today, another original ETS passage. And we'll be recapping a lot of the strategies that we've been looking at over the last couple of weeks. Just as a recap, of what we've done, we're going to be revising some of those. We're going to be looking at the basic structure again, and then we'll be moving on to the reading passage. And you'll have the opportunity to contribute and make answers. Good afternoon, Jude. Hello, Mr. Mert. How are you? Nice to see you here. Hopefully you'll be contributing to today's lesson. I got a little bit tongue-tied all of a sudden. Make sure my head's okay. Okay, so just to recap on the basic structure, in the reading section you're going to have around 3 reading passages, and each reading passage is going to consist of around 10 questions each. For those 3 reading passages, you'll have a total of 54 minutes. There's 30 questions in total. So each reading passage, you should be spending maybe around 18 minutes on each reading passage, which basically, if we break it down, it means on average you have around 1 minute 48 seconds per question. Of course, some questions are going to be more complicated than other questions. They will require more of your time. And some questions will be easier, or you'll find them easier than other types of question too. So you'll have to spend, or you'll decide to spend less time on those. All of this will become clear with the more practice that you actually do. You may actually have an extra reading passage, in which case you'll have 72 minutes and another 18 minutes. As I said, each reading passage should be around 18 minutes. So let's move on to some of the stuff that we've looked at already. I'm going to recap some of the information that we've done over the couple of weeks. So if you've tuned in before, you'll know this information. I'm doing good. Hope I'm fine too. Thank you, Matt. So let's go to the slideshow. And we'll go from the beginning, of course. There we go. So reading strategies in a nutshell. What we've learned so far. So we know not to read the reading passage. As I've stated in prior lessons, they want you to read. In fact, when the reading passage first appears on your screen, you'll see the reading passage to one side. You won't see the questions. They give you the idea that you have to read that reading passage. Don't. What you need to do is click and drag that reading passage to the bottom, and then press the next button at the top of the computer screen. And that will enable you to see the first question. And you have to do this with every reading passage. As each reading passage comes onto your screen, they give you the idea or opinion that you have to read that reading passage. Don't. In fact, even if the question says, I don't know, in paragraph 1, why does the author talk about blowholes? Even the question says read paragraph 1. Again, we're not going to read that reading passage at all. The reading section's actually about not reading. A bit strange, but it's about not reading. So we're not going to read the passage, and we're not going to read the paragraphs. As I stated before, we're going to go straight to the first question. If you're doing any paper practice, make sure that you're answering the questions in the order that they're given. Some traditional exam techniques suggest that you do the easiest questions first, and then you go back and do the harder questions afterwards. We don't have this opportunity in the TOEFL exam. You have to answer question number 1 before you move to question number 2. And you have to answer question number 2 before you move on to question number 3. If you're unsure of a question, and you think that you've spent too much time on it, let's imagine that it's the exam and that you've spent too much time, you could always, take a guess A, B, C, or D, answer it, and make a small note on the piece of paper that you're given before the exam. And then if you have any extra time, the advantage of the reading section is that if you have any extra time at the end, once you've finished all of those reading passages, you can always go back, check and revise and change your answers. So if you feel that you've spent too much time on one particular question, have a guess, take a small note, and if you have extra time, you can always come back to it. You might be correct. It's a 25% chance. It's not Milli Piango, is it? So we go straight to the question and we read the question and we determine its type. I'm going to revise some of these types. I know I've gone into this into some detail before, but we've got some new students today, students who haven't been to prior lessons. So I'm going to give a general revision of what we've done. So we've got vocabulary questions. So they'll give you, we'll see today, they'll give you a vocabulary question and go, okay, which of the options below is the best option or the best synonym for this word? Not that difficult, actually, vocabulary. It requires a little bit of study, but not as much study as you think you need. Reference, of course, asks about pronouns, he, she, it, whom, that, this, these. It says, what does this refer to? What does this talk about? Then we have insertion questions where they give you a sentence. We'll see an example today as well. We have a paragraph and they ask us to put that sentence back into that paragraph. It's a relatively easy question. Then we have, I think I'm going to have to move my head very shortly. Then we have summary questions. So part of the reading passage will be highlighted and they will ask us of which of the options A, B, C, or D best summarize that information. Again, it looks like a very complicated question, but if we approach it from a logical point of view, most of these questions can actually be answered just by thinking about the keywords, how they use the keywords, and how they're changing those ideas. At the very least, we can always get it down to 50-50 between two options, which is always better than 25%, 50% is always better. Then we have, I'm going to move down here, I think. Actually, I'll get rid of my camera very shortly. I'll come back in a minute. Then we have factual information questions, asking about direct information in the reading passage. They're fun. I enjoy those. Then we have implied details, a little bit more difficult, actually. If I open up my little pointer, nothing without my pointer. There you go. Oh. Implied details are very similar to factual information. Factual information is one side, what we actually see. Implied information is what we can understand or conclude from that information. It's like the reverse side of a coin. It's a slightly more complicated type of question, but I think generally the main idea here with implied questions is try to stay as close as you can to the information that they've presented in the text. With this type of question, students often choose the craziest of options because they think implied means a little bit out there, as it were. We have an example of that today too. Then we have function of language, where the question will ask us, why did the author do something? Why did the author include a quotation from last week's example? And we saw that quotation was used to support an idea. If you're writing a thesis and you present an idea, you have to support that with a quotation or a source at the very least. It's a nice question. I enjoy that. Then we have negative information, a little bit tricky, because it looks so much like this factual information question. Here we have 4 options, and one of those options have incorrect information according to the text, or information which isn't included in the text. And the other 3 we can find in the text. It's there, it's present. And, if we're not careful, we often choose one of these as opposed to one of these. So we need to be careful with this type of question. Again, it's a fun question. I enjoy that. Then we've got the last ones. We've got chart type 1, where we're given a summary sentence, and we have an example of that today. And then we have chart type 2, which is an example we saw in our first reading lesson, citations. No, sorry, not citations. Our last lesson, in fact, artisans in industrialization. So they're the basic types of 10 questions we have. Talking about questions as well, In my experience and some of the feedback that I've had from students in the past, you may be presented with a type of question you've never seen before. And that's to do with the nature of ETS. ETS is a research company, an educational research company. Even though you pay a lot of money to take this exam, ETS technically are a non-profit organization. So what are they doing with all of that money? Well, they're simply reinvesting that money into creating new exams and new exam techniques in order to test students and their abilities. They're putting it back into education, which in a sense shapes the education in America. So it's basically, they're researching you, and all of that research we can actually see in the questions, and we can use that research to break those questions down. They follow a particular format. There's a particular logic to these questions. But as I said, even if you're presented with a type of question you've never seen before, use the basic techniques that you're going to see now, and you'll probably be okay. They're all variations of the same. So we're going to begin with the question, we're going to determine its type, and then we're going to find the key word. We'll look at examples of this today. Once we find that key word, we go back to the passage, and I'm going to bring my camera back up. We're going to go back to the passage, and we're going to find that information. Once we've found that information, we're going to look for grammatical and lexical clues. We're going to look for pieces of language which are going to help us choose the correct answer. As I said before, these questions, they have been designed. There is a logic between these. The correct answers, of course, is correct, but they put a lot of thought into the incorrect answers and the way in which they're structured. They don't just create incorrect answers for the sake of creating incorrect answers. There's a logic there. And then we're going to go back, once we have that information, we're going to go back to the options. As I said up here, we do not look at the options. You want to look at the options first, but you're just going to read that question. Once we've collected that information from the reading passage, then we can look at the options A, B, C, and D. I have lots of tips to try and help you pass the reading section successfully, but ETS have a lot of tricks. They know how to make a wrong answer look like a correct answer. So we can not balance this out, we can actually improve our probability or improve our chances of choosing the correct answer by elimination. If we don't eliminate, then we're likely to fall into a TOEFL trap, an ETS trap. So we're going to go into a nice reading passage, actually. I enjoy this very much. 19th century politics. As I stated at the beginning of the lesson, this is an original ETS reading passage, and it's a fantastic example of the strategies and how to use the strategies whilst asking these questions. I'm going to give everybody, if you're watching, hey, Mr. Eren, how are you? Sorry. Hello, Sevginur. How are you? Welcome to the class today. Mert, Eren, and Sevginur, I'm expecting you to participate in today's lesson. I'm going to ask questions. I'm going to give you some time to look at those questions and choose an option. I'm not going to give you a lot of time. I'm going to put you under some pressure. In the exam, you'll have around 1 minute 48 seconds to answer each question. I'm going to give you about a minute to answer this question, but I'll try and slow down as much as I can. So if I ask you to answer a question, hey, how you doing, Ramazan? Welcome back, man. Where were you last lesson? Neyse, hesap istiyorum bila. Hesabı soruyorum. So we're going to move on to the first question. So the word immeasurably is a vocabulary word, and here's the word in the reading passage highlighted. We're not going to read this yet. It's not important. We've looked at the question. Let's have a quick look at the options. A, frequently. B, greatly. C, rapidly. Or D, reportedly. So have a quick look at that. I'm going to give you around a minute. Where's my telephone? I'll open up my timer as I did last lesson, so I know how much time I'm giving you. Have a look at that. I had a little bit of rubbish stuff, but I'm back. Geçmiş olsun. So I'm going to go to my stopwatch, and I'm going to give you around a minute to actually look at that. Whilst you're thinking about that question, I'm going to read the paragraph for you, not because you have to read the reading passage, of course, but to give you an idea of pronunciation and fluency as you read. So, the development of the modern presidency in the United States began with Andrew Jackson, who swept to power in 1829 at the head of the Democratic Party and served until 1837. During his administration, he immeasurably enlarged the power of the presidency. The president is the direct representative of the American people, he lectured the Senate when they opposed him. He was elected by the people and is responsible to them. With this declaration, Jackson redefined the character of the presidential office and its relationship to the people. So, what do we have, boys and girls? Do we have A? Come on, Ramazan. Do we have B? Do we have C? Or do we have D, reportedly? No one's answering. Don't be shy. A wrong answer is a good answer. No answer's a bad answer. There we go, Matt. It could be C. Okay, that's a good guess. Why not? Rapidly. Ramazan says D, reportedly. He reportedly enlarged the power of the presidency. Well, it fits. It does. He frequently enlarged the power. They all fit. They all look good. Hello, Fatmanush. Welcome to the lesson. She's gone with B. Okay, well, let's have a quick look at the strategies first. So it's a vocabulary question, as I stated before. Now, with vocabulary questions, you know, lots of students, hey Jada, how are you? I'm doing fine. Nice to see you back. And then we have someone down here, an Alijan, and Alijan, welcome to the classroom. Alijan Juntunjoy. Rings a bell, actually, that name. Fatnur, hello again. So we're going to break that word down. If you've joined past lessons, we know that words are made up of prefixes, roots, and suffixes. And this is really important for TOEFL. They're not interested in how much vocabulary you know. In fact, the vocabulary that you know, they use against you, as we saw with last lesson, with artisans and industrialization. There was one word with 4 options. What were the options? Prolonged, followed, established, and finally upset. And the question being asked was, which word best replaces disrupt? And a lot of students eliminated the idea of upset because upset means mutsuz. That's the meaning that we know. But that was the correct answer. So be careful of the vocabulary that you do know. ETS use it against you. So we're going to break that word down. We have im, which of course is the prefix. Jada and Ramazan, if you're there, could you quickly put up the meaning of the word im? What does im mean as a prefix? Hadi bakalım. And whilst you're doing that, I'm going to answer the question because there's a 15-second relay. So I'm sure you're going to answer. Well done, Jada. That's very quick, actually. 15 seconds. No, that was around 11 seconds. Yeah, it means not. It has 2 meanings, actually. One, it means not, as Jada says quite correctly, but the second meaning means into, and we see that in the word import, important, and etc., etc. We'll talk about that later. So it's negative. That's our first clue. Then we have the word measure, ölçmek, to measure something. So cannot measure. And then we have abel, or ubel, in terms of pronunciation, we have, which is a suffix, of course, and suffixes tell us how the word relates to other words in the sentence, and that means can. So if we look at this, it means we've got to read it backwards, something which cannot be measured, something which cannot be measured. So let's go back to the options. We'll put some notes down there on the other side. So something which cannot be measured frequently. Well, frequently, as I said, all of these, we can maybe, let's have a quick look. During his administration, he frequently enlarged. During his administration, he greatly enlarged. During his administration, he rapidly enlarged and reportedly enlarged. You know, they all fit in that sentence. You know, But if we approach it from a prefix and a suffix and a root point of view, then we might be able to answer it. Frequently, it's to do with time, and we don't have that idea of negativity there either, or an idea of ability. And enlarged here. So we're talking about measure. We're not talking about how often something happens. We're talking about something, length of something with mass. If we look at greatly, well, great, what does great mean? Great means large. It means big. Okay, it also means like super, fab, and excellent. But, if something is great, then it's large. Alexandra the Great, the large Alexandra, well, that'd be stupid, but you know what I mean. So if something is large, or very, very large, then we cannot measure it. It's a possibility we have to eliminate before we choose. So in the exam, I would look at greatly, I'd think, okay, this is a possibility, question mark. Then I would continue to C, and then I would continue to D, and then I would decide. Rapidly, again, is to do with speed. It's not really to do with size. So here, frequently, it's not to do with time. Great. Well, large, something we can measure, or here, something that cannot be measured. And rapidly is to do with speed, how fast something happens. So that's not going to be a possibility. Reportedly. Well, whoops. Well, we know reportedly is wrong now. I'll keep it there. But to report something, again, we don't have the idea of size there. So greatly is the correct answer. Well done for those who have continued. Negative. Well done, Ramazan. Yep, and we've got ability there as well, Jada. Excellent. Well done. You've made me so happy. Really, really happy. Okay, so let's go to the next question. We're going to be using the same paragraph. So we've got question number 2. According to paragraph 1, the presidency of Andrew Jackson was especially significant for which of the following reasons? Let me see up a little bit. Oh, I've got a terrible backache today. I've got to be careful. So we've got A, the president granted a portion of his power to the Senate. We have B, let me stop my watch. We have B, the president began to address the Senate on a regular basis. We have C, it was the beginning of the modern presidency in the United States. And D, it was the first time that the Senate had been known to oppose the president. So there you go. I'm going to give you a minute to think about that too. With some of the students who've been with me for a couple of weeks, hopefully you've already started this question because you know the options aren't that really important. We begin here. We don't begin here. I'm going to give you a minute and have some coffee. Coffee's getting cold. What time is it? Okay, 24 minutes. We're about halfway there. I'm going to give you a little bit more time. It's a lovely question, this. And sometimes the simplest question, or the simplest looking answer, is going to be the correct answer. Everybody's still looking. Come on, Jada. Come on, Ramazan. Come on, Alican. Sevginur, where are you? And Fatmanur as well. Don't be afraid. An incorrect answer is a good answer. It's better than no answer. And that's brought us up to our time. I think everybody... There we go, Alican. S. You mean A, of course. Alican's... Oh, you've gone D. Oh, okay, that's a possibility as well. Okay, D. Hi, teacher. Hey, Asma, where are you? Sorry, where are you? You're here. How are you? Nice to see you back. And then we've got Panache as well. If I remember correctly, hopefully that's correct. Panache's gone in with C. He hasn't found it yet. Okay, well, let's go into the answers. We can do it together as well. You know, I don't want to put anybody under pressure. I know it's not a very long amount of time. But we can reduce the amount of time if we follow the strategies. Okay, so as soon as I show you A, B, C, and D, we already know we shouldn't look at the answers. Look at that question, find the keywords, and go to that reading passage. 9 times out of 10, that's always going to help you. So with this type of question, we know from according to paragraph 1, we know that this is a factual information question. And we know, of course, not to read the passage. But we know the first step is to read the question and find the key word. So we've got presidency of Andrew Jackson was significant. There you go. There you go. Very good. Okay, I'll take it a little bit slower then. We may not be able to finish the whole reading passage today, but I don't want anybody to feel stressed or pressured. I'd rather you have enough time to answer these questions and practice what we're actually doing. So we found the key word here, presidency of Andrew Jackson, was especially significant. And we're going to try and find those keywords in this paragraph. And if they're modern presidency, so Andrew Jackson, we've got those keywords there. So I found those keywords, and I know that really this sentence is going to be enough for me. I don't require any other information. This down here, the remaining of that passage in black, is no longer important, not really. We can maybe look slightly outside of that information once in a while with some question types, but with factual information, if that keyword is in 1 sentence, we need 1 sentence. If that keyword is in 2 sentences, then we only need 2 sentences. We're going to look for grammatical rules and lexical clues. What I mean by lexical, I mean like vocabulary. So we've got the development, we've got presidency here, we've got modern presidency. And what's the verb we're using? Okay, down here we have, it began with Andrew Jackson. It's not a very long piece of information. We're not going to have many clues, but there's no real, I don't know, does anybody see any specific grammatical structure here? It's just simply past simple. There's no real adjective clauses. We don't have any conjunctions or connectors. It's a relatively simple sentence, subject, verb, and an object here. We've got an object pronoun and an object of, well, preposition, sorry, an object preposition and the object of the preposition, Andrew Jackson. Lexical clues, Ramazan means vocabulary. I apologize, I thought I explained that. I often forget to. Lexical, vocabulary. Lexicon, a word. So let's go back to these options. We'll look through them. The president granted a portion of his power to the Senate. Don't forget we need to eliminate that keyword idea. We look for keywords in here too. And if we go back to this information here, we have no idea of Senate or a portion of his power. It's not within that sentence. If we do have a comma here, so maybe we can continue to the end of the sentence, but nope, there's no mention of the Senate and there's no mention of him granting power. Maybe if we look at power as a keyword, the power of the presidency. Again, not about giving it to the Senate. So we can eliminate A. Now with began, we do have this keyword down here, don't we? Began with Andrew Jackson. But here it says the president began to address the Senate on a regular basis. Again, regular, or to address the Senate, again as a key word. We have no mention of Senate in that first sentence. So for the same reason, we can eliminate B too. Now coming down to C, it was the beginning of the modern presidency in the United States. This looks good. We have the modern presidency began with Andrew Jackson. Why was Andrew Jackson important? Because it was the beginning of modern presidency. It looks good, but we're going to eliminate. We put a little question mark by that. We need to be sure. It was the first time that the Senate had been opposed to the president. Again, look, we've got that key word, Senate. 1, 2, 3. 3 times we've been able to eliminate the same option for that very same reason. Find that key word, find it in the reading passage, limit the information you have, and then eliminate the options. Question every option, and you'll eventually find the correct answer. Let's move on to the next question. Question number 3. The author mentions bankers and investors in the passage as an example of which of the following. Now, I'll give you a quick clue this time. Here we're looking at the function of language the author mentions. So why is this discussed, bankers and investors? Let's look at the options. If you're watching and you've been listening, you know you should be going down here and looking for that information. So we've got the Democratic Party's main source of support, the people that Democrats claimed were unfairly becoming rich, the people most interested in a return to a simple agrarian republic. Agrarian down here means farming republic. Agra means land in Latin. An agrarian is someone who works with the land. And someone who works with the land is also known as a farmer. So a farming republic, as it were. And then we have D, one of the groups in favor of Andrew Jackson's presidency. I'm going to give you a minute to look at that question. Approach it logically. Your time started, by the way. Lexical clues, vocabulary clues. Lexical means vocabulary. So a lexical clue would be a vocabulary clue. Ah, okay. Sorry. I explained it again for nothing. There you go. Jada's gone in with B. Wow. Fatma has gone in with B as well. Hello. Very good. Sevginur has gone in with B. Ramazan's gone in with B too. That's excellent. Well, we'll go through the structure again. Good. Very good, boys and girls. Well done. So it's a function question. We're going to locate those words in the passage, and here we have bankers and investors. So this paper money aristocracy of bankers and investors manipulated the banking system for their own profit. Democrats claimed and sapped the nation's virtue by encouraging speculation. Well, it's quite a long sentence, so we can restrict that information. And then we have to see how it relates to other aspects of the language. So there were bankers and investors. What did they do? They manipulated something slightly negative, the banking system for their own profit. They manipulated something for their own profit. And do we have any other clues down there? Oh, there we go. Unearned wealth. So let's try and put these up then. So we've got manipulated the banking system. They did this for their own profit. And we have that idea of unearned wealth down here as well. Let's go back to the questions. Of course, we're going to go back and eliminate. And there we have it. We've got A, B, C, and D. So let's have a look at A first. I think you've all done very well on this question. I'm going to explain it anyway because there's students out there who haven't joined before. But you've done very, very well. I'm very pleased, actually. You've made me very happy today. Seriously happy. This is excellent. Hey, Matt. There you go, B. I've just seen your answer. Well done. So we've got A, the Democratic Party's main source of support. Again, we look at that idea of support, source of support. If we go down here, we don't have any idea of support we can eliminate. The people that Democrats claimed were unfairly becoming rich, well, we do have this manipulation for their own profit, for the unearned wealth. We can say that this is unfair. We're going to put a question mark. We need to eliminate first. The people most interested in a return to a simple agrarian republic. Again, agrarian becomes a key word. We go back to that information and we have no mention of farmers or agrarian societies in any shape or form. Again, we can eliminate there. One of the groups in favor of Andrew Jackson's presidency. Well, Andrew Jackson's presidency, again, isn't really mentioned here. So we can eliminate D2. You've all done very, very well. Excellent. Good work. And in a very short period of time as well. It was amazing. Okay, let's go to the next one then. So I think you all know what type of question this is. I'm not going to help you. I think you've got the main idea for those of you who are participating. Let's see how well you do with this question then. So according to paragraph 3, Whigs believe that commerce and economic development would have which of the following effects on society? We have A, they would promote the advancements of society as a whole. B, they would cause disagreements between Whigs and Democrats. C, they would supply new positions for Whig Party members. Or D, they would prevent conflict between farmers and workers. The pressure is now on, boys and girls. You did very well with the first question, question number 3. Let's see how well you do with this question. I'm resetting my clock and I'm starting the time now. You've got 1 minute. In the meantime, I'm going to read the passage. So if there's any new vocabulary that you don't know, it can be pronunciation practice. So Whigs, on the other hand, were more comfortable with the market. For them, commerce and economic development were agents of civilization. Nor did the Whigs envision any conflict in society between farmers and workers on the one hand and business people and bankers on the other. Economic growth would benefit everyone by raising national income and expanding opportunity. The government's responsibility was to provide a well-regulated economy that guaranteed opportunity for citizens of ability. And here we go. We've got some answers coming in. Asma says D. Excellent, Asma. I do apologize if is it asthma or asthma? I don't know. I've got that English A, asthma. Okay. It's got to be asthma. Jada, Fatmanur, Sevginur, your time's up. It's 1 minute, 10 seconds so far. Put your answers up. Let me see what you got. And whilst we're doing that, I'll start because there's an 11 Fatmanur's in with A, Ali John's in with D, Jada's in with D too. Okay. A varied response this time. Ramazan says A, and Punar, she's going with D too. Well, let's see how well you've done. Factoring again, don't forget you're doing this in record time. So if you've got an incorrect answer, it's perfectly understandable. I don't think I could answer these questions. Yeah, I could, but I've had lots of practice. So factual information, we know not to read the reading pattern. We need to make sure that I'm not going over time. 5, 6, 7, 7 minutes. Okay. So we're not going to read the passage as we know. We're going to find that key word. And this time the key word is commerce and economic development. What do we do now? Any guesses? Yep. We find the key word in the passage. And up here we have commerce and economic development. And we know if the key word is in one sentence, we only need one sentence. Only if it's in 2 sentences do we need 2 sentences. So let's restrict this information that we need. There we go. We've restricted it to a sentence. For them, commerce and economic development were agents of civilization. Let's put those clues. Whoops. Then we're going to look for grammatical and lexical clues, of course. Getting a little bit ahead of myself. I'm excited now. So, yeah. Agents of civilization. Really not a lot of information here, is there? Let's go back to the options and eliminate. So civilization, let's think about that word. Let's have a look at option A. They would promote the advancement of society as a whole. Civilization. Well, we could argue that civilization and society are synonymous with each other. Of course, society is a little bit more general. A civilization is one that is advanced. But if you remember from last week's lesson and from roots and prefixes, advanced, another word for advanced means promote. Pro meaning to move forward, and mote meaning motion, meaning to move. So promotion means to move forward, to become more advanced. So, the advancement of society here, although civilization and society aren't exact synonyms of each other, I think we could argue that this is. We're going to put a question mark. B, they would cause disagreements. If you want to change your answers, change your answers. That's also possible. We don't have to stick with the same question that we answered. We always have the opportunity to go back and change our answers in the exam. You have the opportunity to go back and change your answers too. So B, they would cause disagreements between Whigs and Democrats. Well, again, this idea of disagreements becomes our key word, and we have this between two people. Again, it's not present in the passage, so we simply eliminate. We move on to C. They would supply new positions for Whig Party members. Again, supply new positions becomes our focus, and we've got Whig Party members. And again, neither of these keywords, if we look Whigs, neither of these keywords here are actually in, oh, okay, the paragraph's about the Whigs. We could argue Whigs, but we couldn't argue new positions. They would prevent conflict between farmers and workers. Again, we don't have this comparison between two people, X between X and Y. It's absent from here. So D is incorrect and A is actually our correct answer. You've got an Adi John's got an A. Well done, Adi John. Excellent, man. Excellent. Well, you know, we are doing it the opposite, you know, so we're approaching this from two ways. You know, logically in the exam, if you have an opportunity to change, you have an opportunity to change. You know, simple as that. The important thing is that we practice. You know, I want you to practice those basic techniques. You know, those basic techniques that we're looking at, reading the question, finding the keyword, locating the keyword in the passage, looking for clues, eliminating. You won't only find this strategy in the TOEFL exam. It's also a valuable strategy in other exams, other English exams. Even in IELTS, you know, we have that idea of keywords, synonyms. IELTS is a little bit more challenging, I think, the reading section. It makes you really think a little bit harder. I think TOEFL, out of the two exams, TOEFL's probably the easiest in terms of solving it quicker and more effectively, as it were. But you also see that same technique used in other exams, you know, more native exams like the SAT or the GMAT exam. They use the same principles. It's the same underlying structure. We read the question, we find the keywords, we find that information in the passage. And if we don't have a keyword, then we should at least eliminate options A, B, C, and D. And in terms of GMAT, we have A, B, C, D, and E, you know. But the same underlying principles you can find in many exams. Anyway, Çinim düştü. So question number 5, according to paragraph 3, which of the following describes the Whig Party's view of the role of government? So if you've been watching, you know what to do. We have A, to regulate the continuing conflict between farmers and business people. We have B, to restrict the changes brought about by the market. We have C, to maintain an economy that allowed all capable citizens to benefit. And then we have D, to reduce the emphasis of economic development. And I'm going to give you a minute there to think about that question. And then before I explain the question, we're going to go for a break time. So I'm going to give you a minute to think about that. And in the next lesson, I think, to begin with, to give everybody the opportunity to come back to class. I know some of you, 15 minutes isn't a long time. I'll recap, at the beginning of the next lesson, I'll also recap some of the information we did at the beginning of today's lesson for any new students joining us. And then we'll return back to the reading passage. I'll do it very quickly. So if you're a little bit late, that's okay. But don't be too late. We're coming up to 40 seconds. Sevginu's in there with C. Ooh, Ramazan's in there with C as well. Excellent. Asma's in there with C. Alijan is in there with C too. Got lots of C's. This is looking good. Or is it? Could C be the wrong answer? Could they be tricking you? Or could I be tricking you? And that's our 1 minute. And boys and girls, we're going to go for a break time now. We'll look at the answer after the break. It's like one of those horrible Turkish adverts, isn't it? The films, you know, get right to the action part and then they have a break time. I'll see you in 15 minutes. Enjoy.
olduğun yerden hemen kalkman gerek. Adım at ki gerçekleşsin her dilek. Bekliyor seni parlak bir gelecek. Sen ona gittikçe o sana gelecek. Justinglishle şimdi sen de dile gel. Justinglishle şimdi sen de dile. Justinglishle şimdi sen de dile gel. Justinglishle şimdi sen de dile gel.
A world full of joy and smile, a world where everyone will live by satisfaction and learn to survive in the outside world. Justinglish style. Learn, play, sing and dance. Do what you don't see anywhere else. Learn, play, sing and dance. Do but do Justinglish style.
Hayat devam ettikçe bitmez bu yarış. Sen de bir dil öğren, macerayla tanış. Hayat devam ettikçe bitmez bu yarış. Sen de bir dil öğren, bu dünyaya karış. Justinglishle şimdi sen de dile gel. Justinglishle şimdi sen de dile gel. Justinglishle şimdi sen de dile gel. Justinglishle şimdi sen de dile gel.
Knife.
Knife. Enthusiastic.
Enthusiastic.
Pronunciation.
Enthusiastic and enthusiasm.
Acoustic.
Reci bilmiyorum.
Recipe.
Recipe. Recipe.
Bir daha.
Recipe.
Clark.
Clark.
Clark. Pronunciation.
Justinglishle şimdi sen de dile gel. Olduğun yerden hemen kalkman gerek. Adım at ki gerçekleşsin her dilek. Bekliyor seni parlak bir gelecek. Sen ona gittikçe o sana gelecek. Justinglishle şimdi sen de dile gel. Justinglishle şimdi sen de dile. Justinglishle şimdi sen de dile gel. Justinglishle şimdi sen de dile gel.
A world with a joy and smile, a world where everyone only by satisfaction and urge to survive in the outside world, Justinglish style. Learn, play, sing and dance, do what you don't see anywhere else. Learn, play, sing and dance, do but do Justinglish style.
Hayat devam ettikçe bitmez bu yarış. Sen de bir dil öğren, macerayla tanış. Hayat devam ettikçe bitmez bu yarış. Sen de bir dil öğren, bu dünyaya karış. Justinglishle şimdi sen de dile gel. Justinglishle şimdi sen de dile gel. Justinglishle şimdi sen de dile gel. Justinglishle şimdi sen de dile gel.
Knife.
Knife.
Enthusiastic. Enthusiastic.
Pronunciation.
Enthusiastic.
And enthusiasm. Acoustic.
Reci bilmiyorum.
Recipe.
Recipe. Recipe.
Bir daha.
Recipe.
Class.
Clark.
Clark. Pronunciation.
Şimdi sen de dile gel.
Okay, I think we're back. I'm going to do a quick head check very shortly to make sure my large head isn't shot. I've stood up during the break time, unfortunately. So as I said before the break, there we go. Okay, reasonable. Looks smaller on the screen, actually. So as I said before the break time, we'll be looking at the strategies again. In brief for new students who are just joining us, and then we'll return to question number 5 and we'll check your answers. Nice to see people are replying and participating. Okay, so in brief, for those of you who are just joining, reading. Do not read the reading passage. We do not have time. You'll only lose time if you try and read the whole passage first. Go straight to the question. And we're not going to look at the options A, B, C, or D. We're only going to look at the question type. And there's 10 different types of question. Very, very briefly, we have vocabulary. When you're back, boys and girls, say hi, so I know you're here. And we'll quickly go through this. So we've got vocabulary questions, we've got reference questions, we have insertion questions, we have summary questions, factual information questions. I think I might have to move my head down. And then we have implied details, and I'll move my head back up. Implied details, function of language, negative information. Oh no, it's okay. And we had chart type 1 and chart type 2. So they're the basic types of questions. You can go back to the beginning of this video later to get a little bit more information regarding those question types. Once we've decided what type of question we're dealing with, we then go to find the key word in the question. What is that question actually asking about? This is the same strategy for all questions. Of course, we have to make slight variations of do it slightly differently according to any particular type of question, but this basic idea or concept runs through every single question type. We're going to find the keyword, and then we're going to use that keyword to find the information that we need in the passage. Again, if that keyword is in one sentence, we only need to analyze the information in that single sentence. If that keyword is in 2 sentences, then we need to have 2 sentences. We can forget about the rest of that reading passage. It's not important. We need to limit the information that we're focusing on, and the way we do that is by using a keyword. It's like a flashlight in the dark. You know, that's what a keyword is. It's going, hey, look here, this is the information you need. Once we find that information, again, we haven't looked at the options A, B, C, and D. We're still in the reading passage. We've limited the information that we need, and then we begin to look for clues, grammatical clues or lexical clues. Lexical means vocabulary. And then we need to go back to the options, and before we find that correct answer, we need to eliminate. Only through elimination can we be sure that we have found the correct answer. So let's go back to where we were. I think that was 95 or 96. Yeah, PowerPoint is so much hard work, but yeah, I like it. I like it. 95, I think. I do apologize. Boom, bada boom. Okay, we'll go back here. Paragraph 5, and then whoops, okay. I think we're on the question, and we go to current slide, and boom. Okay, so we know that this question is factual information. Let me open up my little pointer. We know it's factual information because factual information questions, not always, but a lot of the time they start with this according to paragraph 3. In fact, most of the factual information questions in this reading passage begin in the same way. It doesn't have to begin with according to paragraph 3. It says, 9 times out of 10 it will actually. It's a big clue. So we know it's factual information. We've done the first step. We've determined the question type. Of course, we know not to read the reading passage. I'm going to continuously put that up on the board, not only for the new students, but for the hi, Mr. Matt, welcome back. Jada, Asma, Alijan, Sevginur, Fatmanur, Ramazan, Panash, where are you? Okay, everybody say hi and let me know you're back. Jada, by the way, have you seen, what was his name? I can't remember. There was someone, what was his name? I'll come back to that a little bit later once I remember his name. So, Bishay Kuzuju. Neyse. So do not read the reading passage. We're going to find the keyword in the question. Same strategies. We're going to find that keyword in the passage. So, sorry, in the question we have this Whig Party's view of the role of government. Role of government. Well, it's not a direct keyword. But if you have a role, you have a responsibility. Not all keywords are going to be direct. We're not going to be able to find them exactly. There you go. Welcome back, boys and girls. I know it's Ramazan. Hi, Ramazan. So, not all keywords are going to be found directly in the reading passage exactly as they are. Sometimes if we can't find that word role of government, then we need to think of a synonym. And here, if you have a particular role, then a synonym of that would be a responsibility. My role as a teacher, my responsibility as a teacher. So we're going to limit the information we need. We know responsibility here is in 1 line. Not 2, not 3. We only need this information. This information we do not need. The government's responsibility was to provide a well-regulated economy that guaranteed opportunity for citizens of ability. Well, what's the next step? Well, the next step is, of course, to look for grammatical and lexical clues. Always look for the clues. They will help you. Vocabulary, look for maybe the main idea, vocabulary main idea, adverbs of frequency, some conjunctions, bağlaçlar, mağlaçlar, they're also part of grammar as well, not just vocabulary. So what clues do we have here? Let's have a quick look. The government's responsibility was to provide a well-regulated economy. Okay, that's 1. And that guaranteed opportunity, that's important for who? For citizens of ability. There are our basic clues. The main idea of that sentence is this. We've broken the main idea down, and from that main idea, we've just taken a few of those key words from that, as it were. A basic summary of that sentence. So, of course, we now need to go back and eliminate that. So let's get rid of that. Okay, so now we've got A, B, C, and D again. Well, let's start with A. to regulate the continuing conflict between farmers and business people. So we've, basically this option has limited the scope of what's being said. It's reduced it between two people, farmers and business people. So let's go back here. Farmers and business people, well, nah, not going to work, is it? And we don't have those key words or those key ideas present in this sentence. To restrict the changes brought about by the market. I don't know, I'm going to give you a second. Think about what the key ideas are in this sentence, and then we'll do it together. I'll give you a couple of seconds to think about that. To restrict the changes brought about by the market. Well, I think this here is quite important, restrict, and this idea of changes, and of course, market. They're the three: restrict changes by market. We could basically summarize that sentence. So let's go here. We have, again, provide a well-regulated economy. We don't really have restrictions there. Well regulated. If you're regulated, are you restricted? We could maybe argue it slightly, a little bit like this, as they do. But we have no idea of the market there either. So I think we can actually eliminate that option. Now, a lot of you said C, to maintain an economy that allowed all capable citizens of ability. Again, pronunciation, not capable, capable, capable. Just want to emphasize that, common mistake, capable. Well, citizens of capable citizens of ability. Well, if you're capable, we call that able, can do something. If you're capable, I think maybe comes from Latin, capare, meaning to take. If you're able to take the benefit, maybe. If we broke that word down into its parts, citizen benefit, it looks good. It really does look good. To regulate, to maintain an economy, regulated economy, they do match. Let's go to D very quickly. To reduce the emphasis on economic development. Well, reduce emphasis, again, we can be sure. For most of you, you said C. Well done, everybody. You did very, very well. Okay, let's move on to the next question then. So, I think most of us know what type of question this is, don't you? Well, actually, what type of question is this? Let me see. How many people know? I'll give you a couple of seconds there. My mouth's gone dry. Well, of course, it's a vocabulary question, isn't it? So, I'm going to leave it up to you. Where's my telephone? I'm going to leave it up to you. I'm not going to say much more than that. You should know what to do by now with vocabulary questions. I'm going to quickly open up my stopwatch again. Clock. Reset. And I'm going to give you about a minute to think about that. It's a difficult one. It is a difficult one. Oh, wait. I've got to give you the options first, haven't I? So the options are A, sorry, I do apologize. A, arguments. B, tendency. Very good, Matt. Yeah, vocabulary. C, example. I'm stupid, really stupid. And D, warning. Okay, so your time, that's useful if you know the options. Your time starts now. Reset and start. I do apologize. I'll read the paragraph whilst we're waiting, and you're doing that. Whigs and Democrats differed not only in their attitudes towards the market, but also about how active the central government should be in people's lives. Despite Andrew Jackson's inclination to be a strong president, Democrats as a rule believed in limited government. Government's role in the economy was to promote competition by destroying monopolies and special privileges. In keeping with this philosophy of limited government, Democrats also rejected the idea that moral beliefs were the proper sphere of government action. Religion and politics, they believed, should be kept clearly separate, and that they generally opposed humanitarian legislation. Humanitarian. Dilim dönmüyor gene. Okay, so we're down with vocabulary. Jada's gone with B. Ooh. And Alican's gone down with A. That's okay. Guesses are good. Guesses are good, Alican. Sevginu's gone in with D. Very good. Okay. Ramazan's in with D as well. Mert's in with C. And I think that's all we have at the moment. Again, if there's any more people online, please feel free to contribute. You know, everybody's welcome. Even a wrong answer is a good answer. So argument, tendency, well, let's break that word down first, because that's what we need to do. So we have in. What does in mean? Boys and girls, do you remember? Put the answer up. I'll give you a couple of seconds and then I'll give the answer up here. Okay, Asma's gone in with A. Okay, that's a good one. Option B is also attractive now, yeah. Very good, Jada, excellent. Prefixes, well done. Again, in has two meanings. Here is the prefix. Oh, sorry, no. This is the second meaning. But yeah, in, it does have a negative meaning, indecisive. But here with inclination, it's actually shown us direction, like import. It means into, to go into something. So here in, we're in something. And then we have cline, which is a root that we haven't looked at before. Well, we looked at it briefly, actually, very, very briefly, in a couple of vocabulary lessons earlier. I actually used recede, reclining chair. Cline means to lean. It's hard to give an example, but you know, if you're sitting in your chair and you're sitting back in your chair, you're leaning back in your chair. Or maybe if you imagine a wall, you know, to lean against the wall. You know, so we have this action here. And then we have, of course, with this action, we have possible options, A and B. And incline means to lean into something. So that's our clue. Now, of course, argument, this idea of into, is absent, as it were. So argument to be a strong, we can also maybe try and put that word back here, replace it. Despite Andrew Jackson's argument to be a strong president, doesn't really go with that sentence either. So we can eliminate A. Now B, tendency, tend to do something. Actually, should I? Yes, I should. I'll quickly put a little example up here. Hold up a minute. Present a view, help and show, see all slides, previous last viewed, present a view, screen. There we go. Show taskbar. So we'll just put this up. Tendency. And I'll make that larger for you. Go up to 20. You know, it comes from the verb form tend to. And tend to is used to show basic preference, as it were, or the likelihood of doing something between two options. So at the weekend, well, once upon a time before Corona, at the weekend when I had some free time, I had two choices. I had the cafe. Actually, if we write them side by side, I had going to the cafe or going to the bar. You know, so you know, tend to can be used to show a slight preference to one over the other. At the weekend when I have some free time, I generally go to the cafe. At the weekend when I have some free time, I tend to go to the cafe. We have that idea. We've got option A and option B, and we're sort of leaning towards something. Actually, the word lean towards can be used to show that you prefer one thing towards another. So in terms of politics, I sort of lean towards liberalism as opposed to maybe conservatism or fascism, as it were. So show a preference towards something. It doesn't mean that I don't go to the bar, of course. You know, if this were an implied question, we could imply that I go to the bar sometimes, but most of the time I go to the cafe. So B looks good. Example again, inclination, example, into. X means out of. You know, it's got the opposite meaning. So from a prefix point of view, I'm going to say C is incorrect. But even if we put it back in the sentence up here, despite Andrew Jackson's example to be a strong president, doesn't really work. Example is a noun. Well, you know, tendency is a noun too, but yeah. And then we have warning. Again, I think we can all agree, despite Andrew Jackson's warning to be a strong president, to warn tehdit etmek, doesn't really go in there. But we do have this idea of, oops, I didn't mark that one out. Oh, God, I knew there was going to be, I'll check this so carefully today. There's always going to be one problem. So tendency, we've got being a strong president, being a weak president, and then he was most of the time a strong president as opposed to a weak president. So tendency is correct. So we're going to use the same paragraph, and we're moving on to question 7. I need to check the time to make sure that we're on time. Yeah, we've got plenty of time. So question might even have time for some vocabulary. That would be good. So question number 7. According to paragraph 4, a Democrat would be most likely to support government action in which of the following areas? Gonna ask you a question, boys and girls. What type of question is this? Extra brownie points for the person who gets it right. A piece of cake. Yeah. Yeah, well, yeah, it does, But, hopefully, Mert, you have to change the way that you approach questions. I've had lots of practice, of course. I've had lots and lots of practice. I've been teaching TOEFL. I've been here for 19 years. I think I've been teaching TOEFL for well over 15 years now. 16, maybe 17 years. Well, maybe even maybe even 18 years I've been teaching TOEFL. So I'm used to approaching reading passages like this. But with every question, if you practice the same strategy, do it in the same way, you'll be able to answer them in exactly the same fashion too. Vocabulary questions, my vocabulary is good. I like Greek and Latin. So anyway, back to the question. We've got A, creating a state religion. Did we have any answers there? Tendency means attitude. No. No, but tendency is a type of behavior, in a sense, a type of behavior when we do something generally, in that sort of sense of behavior, yeah, but it's not synonymous with behavior, So we have A, creating a state religion, B, supporting humanitarian legislation. Nobody's answered my question here. What type of question is this, boys and girls? You should know. Then we've got C, destroying monopolies, and D, recommending particular moral beliefs. So I'm going to take my microphone off because I need to cough. Sorry, I apologize. Hopefully that wasn't too bad for you. So I'm going to give you a minute, or slightly less actually. I was too busy over here dying. Jada's gone in with C. Straight in there, well done. What about you, Matt? Any ideas? Asma? Ramazan? Panash? You seem to have disappeared. Did you not come back? Rethink that, Jada, actually. I don't know why you retracted your message. I think everybody's waiting for the answers. Okay. So we'll do this together then. So we've got factual information. We know that we shouldn't read this reading passage. We're going to find the keywords in the question, which are support government action. We're going to quickly look down here. Support. Okay, so we don't have support there. Not really. So we need to think of an idea, a synonym of maybe to support something. And I'm going to give you the answer. The synonym would be actually promote. The government's role, government's action, their role in the economy was to promote competition. And here, Democrats, as a rule, believed. We have the idea of, what they thought as an idea. So we're promoting the idea, and we're going to restrict the information that we need here. So the government's role in the economy was to promote competition by destroying monopolies and special privileges. We're going to look for those grammatical clues. So we'll bring the notes in. And down here, of course, promote competition and destroy... Whoa, I missed one there. And promote competition by destroying monopolies and special privileges. So we've got some clues down here, lexical clues at the very least. Grammatical clues... well, it's passive, but passive isn't really going to help us. A passive sentence could very easily be changed back to an active sentence. So we need to go back and eliminate the options now, A, B, C, and D. It's all about elimination. Let's go back to the options. So, boys and girls, I want some answers now. Come on. I've helped you halfway. Get those answers up. Fatmano's in there with A. Ramazan, where are you? Mert, come on. Don't make me shout at you. Okay. So let's have a look at, thank you girls. So creating a state religion. Creating state religion as a key word. There we go, Mert, very good. As a key word isn't present here. I think we can all agree. Can we eliminate option A? What do you think? Yes or no? Put your answers in the chat and I'll give you the answer very shortly. Give you time to write the answer. And, well, yeah, we can eliminate this. There's no mention of religion in that sentence. Is religion mentioned anywhere else? Government action, religion and politics. Well, if we just look at the key word here, religion, they believe should be kept clearly separate. Creating separate religion and politics. If we use that as a key word and just double check the information outside here, they should separate. They were opposed. They should be kept separate. So they wouldn't create a state religion. Let's have a look at B. Supporting humanitarian legislation. Well, humanitarian legislation. We've got here opposed humanitarian legislation. It's not here, that information. We can already eliminate this just from that. But I just want to show you the main ideas using the keywords here to double check our answers. And, it's not going to be correct. Here we're looking at supporting, not opposing. Destroying monopolies is here. It does look good. I'm not going to erase it. I'm going to put a little tick by it. And we can come back to that. I need to check D first. Recommending particular moral beliefs. Again, moral beliefs here. It's not in the sentence. It's out of the scope of the sentence, so we know it's wrong. But if we just want to double check, let's imagine that we didn't look at the key word and we've just looked at A, B, C, and D. We can go the long way round. We can do keyword, 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 and compare. I don't recommend that because here it shows us the information we need immediately. But, if you're having problems finding a keyword in the question, then you could always do keyword A, keyword B, keyword C, and compare and eliminate. And here, moral beliefs, again, moral beliefs are down here somewhere. They rejected moral beliefs. Rejected, so not support. So C is our correct answer. Well done. Okay, so let's move on to the next question then. I think we've got a new paragraph. Again, it's a vocabulary question. I'm going to put the options up and give you the opportunity to answer those. So we have A, power. We have B, reality. We have C, difficulty. And we have D, idea. I'm going to give you a minute to think about that. I'm going to drink some coffee and fill up my water. I'm sorry. It's fasty work, YouTube, all this talking. Yes, exactly, Mert. Precisely. They rejected moral belief. They didn't support moral belief. Jada's gone in with D. I think that's a good attempt. Concept. Now I'm gonna show you something in a second. You know. Any more answers there? Well, got about 20 seconds left. Ramazan, welcome back. Very good. Matt's straight in there with D as well. Yeah. And that's enough time. I don't want to spend too much time on this. D, and Asma has gone in with A. Now, you know, A does look good. Does look good. But before we do that, let's, you know, I'm big on roots and prefixes, you know, and breaking a word down, but sometimes that's not always going to help you, you know, as you're about to see. So, you know, concept, if we try to break this word down, we have con, which of course is a prefix, and I'm sure you'll remember. I don't know, Jada, you've been good with prefixes today, actually. Do you remember the meaning of con or con? Put the answer up. If anybody else remembers as well, Ramazan, I think you should remember. You've been following my lessons for a while. Yeah, well done, Jada. Excellent. Wow, amazing. Yeah, con means means together or with. You know, concept with something. You know, and we have this sept, which comes from the Latin word that we saw earlier, actually, capare. Kapmak, you know, kapare means to take something. And probably that Turkish word, kapmak, has that same idea as well, you know, kapare. So it comes from that. It's a root and it means to take together, you know. If we go back to those options very shortly, we'll look as to why that's a problem. And then we have and you know, if this doesn't work, then try replacing the word here and going with the most logical one, you know. But those prefixes and roots, I've put them down here. But they're not really going to help us here. Because this idea of togetherness, power, reality, difficulty, or idea, you know, I can find a connection. But it's, you know, I'm an English teacher, so, you know, I love etymology, I love languages, so I can stretch this, but, you know, here it doesn't really have that meaning concept. Here it's more of into, concipere, or something in Latin, which literally means to take in, to take into. And that was the origin of the word. So it's not really helping us. But power, if we try to put power, for Whigs, the power of government promoting the general welfare went beyond the economy. You know, power looks good, but here when we say went beyond the economy, it doesn't really sort of connect. You know, we can't have power beyond something. We can have more power. If with the reality of government, well, I think we can, the reality of government promoting the welfare, again, putting that word in there doesn't, the roots and prefixes aren't helping, but here, you know, looking at the relationship with these ideas, the idea of promotion going beyond something else, you know, we don't have that idea. Difficulty as well, I think we can eliminate difficulty straight away. So we're left with idea, and I think this concept. I think it's a word that we have in Turkish now. You know, traditionally it would be used for concept furniture, but I think it's now in the Turkish language meaning an idea or an idea of something. So, you know, it happens sometimes. Roots and prefixes aren't always going to help you. Sometimes it can only confuse you. If you look at it and you think now, like, you know, what's the relationship? Just get rid of it. So let's move on to the next question. Which of the following can be inferred from paragraph 5 about variations in political beliefs within the Whig Party? I'm going to give you a second to think about that question and maybe start it. Kavram. Kavram? I'll think about that later. So I'll put the options up. Hopefully you've started answering the question already or started thinking about the question. The options aren't important, but I'll put them up anyway. They were focused on issues of public liberty. They caused some members to leave the Whig Party. They were unimportant to most Whigs. and they reflected regional interests. This is a difficult question. I'm going to give you a little bit more than a minute this time, actually. I want you to really, really try hard with this one. It is hard. It's an example of a higher level one. Very, very difficult. I think maybe 7 in 10, maybe 8 in 10 students get this question incorrect. Difficult keywords. Keywords are difficult. Oh, Jada's not shy. She's gone straight in with D. Wow. Okay, that was 24 seconds. That was amazing. What do the rest of you think? Don't be shy. Mert, Alican, Asma. Don't wait for my explanation this time. We know it's an implied question. I'll give you a little clue there. It's a very difficult keyword though. Ooh, everybody's quiet. I think they're waiting. We're coming up to a minute. Quickly check the time. Okay, we've got plenty of time. I'm going to give you extra little bit of time on this. I'll read through the paragraph. I think I've already read through this paragraph, haven't I? I've read it so many times I can't remember if I've read it today. So Jada's the only one with an answer so far. Aşk olsun çocuklar. Okay, well, we'll go and we'll look at the basic strategy. So it's an inferred or implied question. There we go, Asma. Thank you very much. Ramazan, well done. He's in with D. Panaj, welcome back. Where have you been? Panaj's back in with D. Okay, so it is a very, very difficult question, this one. Seriously, it is a difficult one. The key word, actually, it's implied information, which makes it a little bit more difficult than factual information. We really have to think out and yet think close to the information we've been provided. We're not going to look at the options because they are only going to confuse you. Hopefully, a lot of you have followed the basic strategy of keyword and information. We're going to find the keyword in the question, and the keyword here is variation. I'm going to quickly ask a question. Variation. Can anybody find that keyword in that paragraph? Variation. Is it in that paragraph? Have a quick look. I'll have a quick look too. I can't. Can you? No. Okay, so we need to think about a synonym, and this is a really, really out there. So if we have a quick look at the organization of this passage, we see that we're talking about the Whigs. If we have a quick look down here for Democrats, no. This reading passage is important because it's taking two ideas and it's putting those two ideas together. They're discussing theory A and theory B, or party A and party B, or time period A and time period B. And with some questions, we need to be careful that, well, we'll see an example very shortly of that. I'll stop right there, actually. We'll get back to this question. It's talking about the Whigs in general, this paragraph. And here at the beginning, like any introduction or any paragraph, we're probably going to have a very general idea at the very top. Even in writing, basic writing skills, when you start a supporting paragraph, the general ideas are at the top, and then we become a little bit more focused down towards the bottom. Basic organization theory, as it were. But we do have this key word down here in particular. Especially. So, I don't know, if we look at an example, everybody likes chocolate, but Joseph in particular likes chocolate, or Joseph especially likes chocolate. Deyince. Are we saying Joseph is the same as everybody else, or are we saying that he's different? We're actually saying that he's different from the rest of the group. That he's not the same. Okay, everybody likes chocolate, but Joseph especially likes chocolate. He likes it a little bit more, London accent, a little bit more than than everybody else. We have this idea of a difference. And here, variations, if two things are varied, then they are different from each other. A little bit like that. You know, it's what I would call an upper intermediate, maybe an advanced to a proficient question. We need to remember that TOEFL is a level test, so some questions are going to be particularly tough, like the vocabulary question we saw earlier. So I know this is the sentence that I need, and I'm going to look for some quick grammatical clues here. Wigs in the northern sections, in particular, especially, wigs in the northern sections, we have an idea of area. They, I don't know, also believed we have this grammatical structure where connecting ideas also is used to emphasize extra information. So we're emphasizing that sentence by saying in addition to. They believed government power should be used to foster the moral welfare of the country. So we have at the top of the paragraph here, we're talking about the Whig Party in general, and then we're saying the Whigs in the northern sections were different from the Whigs in general because they also believed something else. Tough one, really, really tough. So let's go back to the options, A, B, C, and D. I'll give you an option, I'll give you the opportunity to change your options if you've answered already. General welfare, welfare, I can't remember what welfare was. Refa, I think it was an Arabic word. But it's been a long time since I've looked at what sections, maybe variation refers to many ideas. Variation means difference. The basic idea of variation means difference. So when we say a variety of ideas, we're basically saying that A, B, C, and D, all of these ideas are different from each other. Emphasize. Okay, so let's go through them together. They were focused on issues of public liberty. Again, our key word here is public liberty. And do we have that idea down here? The answer is no, 9. Then we go to B. They call some members to leave the Whig Party. Some members leaving. Let's have a quick look. We can always double check, do the long way round. And I can't see that anywhere, other members. I think we can eliminate B as well. Now C, they were unimportant to most Whigs. Differences, variations were unimportant. Variations were unimportant. Do we have that information in this sentence here? Well, the answer is no. Do we have any information which supports that idea down here? The answer is once again no. Jada, well done. Very good. It's a tough question. D. And Pinar as well. Better luck next time, Asma, though. You're doing well. You're doing well. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. The boys have gone very quiet. Ramazan, Mert, where are you? Where's your answers? You're just waiting for me to answer the questions, aren't you? So let's go to question 10. We should know. Ooh, actually, I'm not going to say anything about this question. I'm just going to put the options up and I'm going to let you go away. If you don't put your answers up, I'm not going to explain it. I'm just going to sit here and look at the computer for the last 10 minutes. So make sure that you answer the questions, all of you. All of you. So we have workers unhappy with the new industrial system. We have B, planters involved in international trade. We have C, rising entrepreneurs. We have D, individuals seeking to open the economy to newcomers. And we don't have any other option because this is a TOEFL reading passage, not a GMAT reading passage. They're your options. I'm going to give you a minute to think about those. And I don't think we're going to have enough time to finish all of these questions today. Next week, I'm going to do another reading passage, and we can finish this one off at the beginning of next week's lesson as well. I'm sorry, Ramazan, I'm general welfare? Was that an answer? I do apologize. Answer this one, come on. A, B, C, or D? You're halfway through. Be careful of that question, though. Seriously, be careful of that question. And where's your answers? What did I say? What did I say in the Black Sea? Ne oldu? Kuş mu yedi dülünü? Come on. Jada Panache. Oh, there we go. Ramazan's in with A. First up there. Workers unhappy with the new industrial system. It's an interesting question, this. It's a difficult one too. Jada Panache. We've been 1 minute 30 seconds so far. Jada's in with A. Hoş geldin. She's in with A too. Well, that's enough for me too, people. We've only got 2 minutes left. So let's go through this question together. And then we'll continue with the rest of the reading passages next week. So we got negative facts, or maybe we can go 5 minutes over time. Maybe. So we got negative facts, and we know it's negative because of this word except here. We need to be careful. 3 of those 4 options are going to be correct in the passage. Sorry, that way, in the passage, but surely in the passage, but one of those options is going to be incorrect according to the passage or absent from the passage. That's the one we want. Incorrect answer is the correct answer. So we're going to read the question carefully, except be careful of this. We're going to start with option A. We're going to find the keywords in that option, and then we're going to go to the reading passage and try and find that information. And then once we've done that, we go to the next option and we continue until we find that information. There we go, Alican, A. Okay, excellent. So let's have a look at the basic idea is Democrats. And we need to be careful with this reading passage because we're not just talking about Democrats, we're also talking about Whigs. This is a comparative reading passage. We need to remember that comparisons. We need to be particularly careful, especially with this type of question. Let's go to A. Workers unhappy with the new industrial system. Now, let's try and find that information here. I'm going to find it for you because we're running low on time. But it's actually down here. Attracted farmers are isolated for the market or uncomfortable with it. If you're uncomfortable with something, then you're also unhappy with something too. So A is actually in the passage and it's related to Democrats. Yani, it's not the correct answer. We're looking for the information which is not present in the passage or incorrect in the passage. B, planters involved in international trade. And bang, I've put that straight up here for you to save time. Here we have that keywords. And as we can see, this information is related to Whigs. We're looking for information related to Democrats. This does not talk about Democrats, except it looks good, but I'm going to double check the other options. Again, rising entrepreneurs we have down here. Again, it's related to Democrats. It's correct. It's in the passage. Yani, it's incorrect. Then we have D, individuals seeking to open the economy to newcomers, and boom, we have that down here too. Newcomers like themselves. It's in the passage and it's related to Democrats. The only piece of information which is not, or except not related to the Democrats, is this idea of planters involved in international trade. I tell you what, we'll finish the reading passage next week because I can talk for ages about these reading passages. It's one of my favorites. So at the beginning of next week's lesson, we'll finish this reading passage off. We'll start with question 11 and we'll finish this one. And then we'll do one more reading passage to finish the section off. And then maybe the following week, I'll focus on maybe some writing skills. Boys and girls, it's been wonderful having you again today. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful evening. Enjoy the rest of it. I know a lot of you are at home, but that's cool. Home's good, you know. So I see you next week, hopefully. Have a nice day.